Hey guys, what's going on? This is Liam here, and it is about 4 a.m. in the morning. For some reason, I can't sleep. I do often get that when I'm moving to a different place. I'm in a new place in Richmond now, in Melbourne, but so I'm just going to stay up all night and just basically probably work through tomorrow. And that's one of the benefits, and we'll get to tinnitus and surgery in a second, but that's one of the benefits to actually following this advice. People follow this advice first of all to get rid of their tinnitus, hyperacusis, pulsatile tinnitus, vertigo. But they say, Liam, I don't have to take my insulin anymore. Literally, type 2 diabetes don't have to take their insulin anymore. They start on metformin, insulin. They work with their doctor, follow my advice. And when you're eating meat and you're cutting out the carbohydrates and the processed foods, then your pancreas and beta cells start to work better. They're going to be doctors who can explain that much better than I just did. I didn't really explain it, sort of touched on, I skated sort of on the surface of that, but people stop taking their blood pressure medication, people sleep better, people's anxiety goes away. I'm not promising any of this, by the way, but when you follow this advice, everything in your life can get better. And I truly mean that, because your perception of things is really, your interpretation of the things that happen to you in your life are really going to determine how your life turns out. So if you fail at something, do you try again or say the world is against you and give up? If you're positive, or you're feeling good and you're happy and you're well slept and you're well liked because you're a positive, optimistic guy, you're not a pessimistic dick, okay, or a terrible chick, you're going to have a happier life and you're going to be more successful. But if you have a bloated stomach and you have diarrhea every day, or you're constipated, or you're not sleeping, then it's going to show up in your finances because you're not going to work well. It's going to show up in your relationships because you're going to be angry and bitter. You're not going to want to compromise. You're going to lash out. You're going to go to work. Your willpower is going to be drained. You're going to come home and get angry at your spouse, your relationship with your kids. Okay, this is all happening for people in my group. They're resolving issues. I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, but they're going through and resolving issues with their family and themselves and their friends. And it all starts with treating yourself properly. And when you start cutting out the bad foods and bringing in things like iodine, which I'm going to talk about in a second here, and bringing in healthy habits like meditation and sunlight. I just shared a picture on my Instagram, which is a study that shows that men getting direct sunlight to their testicles, their testosterone increased by 200%. Now, if you know anything about testosterone, you know that low testosterone is associated, not causal, that's a very different, but associated with a multitude of health problems. And I've even spoken to, including depression, by the way. I've even spoken to a dentist friend of mine. I do like dentists. And he said that so many people come to doctors, men, and women too, women as well, and they find out that their issues are actually caused by low testosterone. Men who get into their 40s and 50s can actually benefit a lot from, I was going to say tinnitus retraining therapy, but fuck no one's going to benefit from that. Testosterone replacement therapy, it's TRT as well, that's why I get it mixed up sometimes. And they find out that they keep their lean body mass, which is very imperative for long-term health. Their organ functions improve, their sense of well-being improves, and really the emotional things in their life tend to improve. And as I was speaking about before, it's like a domino effect, and it kind of ricochets off the walls and goes through the goals at the end and to achieve any things you want to achieve in life. So surgery, as you guys would know, I had a lot of surgery recently. That was super fun. Thanks Thailand for poisoning me and killing me within 24 hours. That was awesome. The funny thing about that is I had someone say, oh, well, you shouldn't eat meat because, you know, that's what did it. First of all, I don't even know if it was meat or a tick bite or a virus. The doctors couldn't culture anything. And second of all, fun fact for you guys watching here who don't like meat, that was the first time I ate vegetables in about 6 months. Big plate of vegetables in a restaurant. So if you're going to associate anything with food-wise, it's probably going to be that, right? Because it's the first time I ate it in 6 months. You can still get plenty of horrific diseases and bacteria and parasites and fungal infections from plants, okay? E. coli, whole bunch of horrific things from plants. So plants and meat, sometimes you just got unlucky. That's the way it goes. And because of my health and how healthy I was prior to getting sick, and because I was doing dry fasting and everything else that I talk about, raw optics, you guys are awesome. I was able to survive. I was able to keep my hands and feet, not my toes, unfortunately. That's the way it goes. Get my hands though. I was supposed to lose my nose. See the scars? Supposed to lose my ears, but I came out pretty well, and I was walking around in about 3 weeks. I had to get a friend to come to the hospital in Richmond, where I am. I'm literally, the Epworth Hospital is right there where I was, which is quite funny. And I had to get a friend to come in, and we'd break out and kind of go for walks around the park, and I'd come back and have to press the buzzer to get back in because I was in the infectious disease ward because I was outside of Australia. I was in Thailand, and they got, "Oh, Liam, like, you're not supposed to be outside, you're supposed to be indoors relaxing." I was like, "I'm going crazy in this fucking place." I had my own room, but I could see outside the beautiful Melbourne city skyline and the sun and the park, and I was like, "There's no way I'm staying indoor. My healing time's gonna be slower. I'm gonna get sicker." So we'd go to the park, and I'd be walking around with my funny shoes, and I'd take off my shirt and get a lot of sun, and it was great. So if you're having surgery, 5 minutes in, we'll finally get to what you clicked the video for, right? If you're getting surgery, hope you can hear me. If you're getting surgery, you're probably wondering, what can I do? Is there anything that I can do to offset the chance of making my tinnitus worse? Or if you've just found my channel and you used to have tinnitus and you want to keep it away, what can you do, okay? So the number one most important thing that you ensure does not happen when you have surgery, regardless of what kind of surgery you have, is that you don't get given gentamicin. Gentamicin, it's a neurotoxic drug. Generally speaking, most drugs that end with mycin are neurotoxic, okay? Now, it's not going to cause irreparable damage because you can regrow neural tissue, which is pretty amazing. There's some supplements, dry fasting. If you go look at August Dunning, the Phoenix Protocol, he lost his sense of smell from degeneration of the neural tissue, did a 7-day dry fast, and on the 3rd day, his sense of smell came back after doctors didn't know what to do. Well, doctors, how would they know? Drugs aren't going to fix that. Are you going to fix neural tissue with a drug? Good luck, okay? So if you can take a supplement and dry fasting, will work much, much better. So he's a pretty cool guy, August Dunning. Check him out, Phoenix Protocol, dry fasting. You think you can't dry fast for 3 days? This guy does 11 fucking days, okay? Don't listen to anyone who says you can't live without food or water for 3 days, okay? It's fucking ridiculous. I'm not saying you should go do an 11-day dry fast right now. That would be stupid. Get your education, do some practice, do some shorter days, build up, and get your doctor's approval. So avoid gentamicin. The second thing is this, okay? Iodine. So you're going to be given certain, good, just leaked onto the white marble countertop. That's what you want, isn't it? One sec. Second rule of iodine is don't spill it. Because when you're renting somewhere, it's not ideal. Okay, that just made it 10 times worse. Okay, moving on. So I'll put this over here so it's safe. I'm going to just show you how much I use. Okay? Very professional, I know. There we go. Let's block the light for you. Okay. Oh, missed it. So, I made a complete mess of that. So, why take iodine, okay? So iodine is in the periodic table of halogens. So you've got iodine, you've got fluoride, you've got chlorine, and you've got bromine. Okay, you might see them bromide. These might see bromide on a label on a drug, okay? And all of them, there's also another one, which I always forget, but they're all toxic except for iodine. Don't trust my face, it tastes like shit. So, iodine, you're not going to be able to see it, but your thyroid gland is located here, okay? And it regulates your fight or flight system, so that's your feeling of well-being and anxiety. So go figure why people follow my course and their anxiety goes away. Okay, it regulates your adrenal glands, your adrenal cortex. It's also responsible for a lot of hormonal function in the body, okay? The thyroid gland is something that controls a lot of hormones, as well as digestive function in the body. A lot of things, okay? Pineal gland, thyroid gland, and your 2 adrenal glands that sit above your kidneys that are interlinked. But what happens is, if you take a high amount of other halogens, such as bromine, what's probably going to be in your drugs is going to be bromine. And bromine, the carbon ring around bromine, okay, the carbons in the ring around the element of bromine, very closely resemble the structure of iodine. Go look at the work by Dr. Brownstein on that. Unfortunately, Dr. Brownstein was a doctor who proved that you could cure the current, starts with this letter, by using certain drugs and iodine and fasting. And so what did YouTube do? They deleted his entire channel, because how can you have people getting healthy without vaccines, right? That would just be totally insane. That's none of my business. Anyway, moving on from that, I'm going to get some great comments for that, I'm sure. What happens is your thyroid gland can get very toxic. And when I say toxic, I mean something's in it that's not supposed to be there, and that would be bromine. You have iodine receptors in the thyroid gland and every other cell in your body except for red blood cells, okay? Every single cell needs iodine, just like every single cell needs salt. Doctors will tell you that iodine and salt is toxic. Doctors have never healed anyone in their entire fucking life. Don't listen to them, okay? That would be talking to that's like talking to if you have a chronic disease and you go to a doctor, then you should also go to your 2-year-old for financial advice, because they have just about as much experience in both those fields and getting successful results, if that's your goal. Seriously, I'm being dead serious. I'm not trying to be funny. So get iodine because you want to be loaded up with iodine, because your body will always choose the iodine instead of bromine. Dr. Brownstein does plenty of tests where he will give people iodine and they will instantly start urinating out bromine or chlorine or fluoride. They're toxic in those elements. If you swim in a chlorinated pool, if you drink Mountain Dew, bromine, if you take pharmaceutical drugs, the halogens, they use as binders. Don't ask me why. If you have bread, carbohydrates, brominated flour, they took iodine out of flour, and put bromine in instead. Bromine is a toxin and iodine is an essential trace mineral that every single human on this face of the earth needs, and you've been told it's dangerous for you. Also, fun fact, iodine was used as an antibiotic. It was in a similar role of antibiotics, but then it was invented by a French doctor, Dr. Lugol's iodine, okay? But then, unfortunately, there was more money in antibiotics, so antibiotics came in. But there was no bacteria, there was no fungus, and there was no parasite that is impervious to iodine, but there are to antibiotics. It's worth looking into, isn't it? The next thing is, after iodine, well, you get what I'm trying to say there. You're toxic with bromine, probably, so load up on iodine. It's also a disinfectant, it's antibacterial. It's going to be very, very good for you, okay? Yeah, sure, take your multivitamins if you want, or you could just be smart about it and eat a liver. Literally go and eat a liver. If you want to be healthy before your surgery, I would be eating probably a pound of liver a day. Speak to your doctor first, but I would be eating a pound of liver a day. It's the most bioavailable, nutrient-dense food in the entire world. I'm telling you, honey, it's not kale. It's not fucking kale, okay? So the final thing is I would do a 3-day dry fast. When you do that, your entire immune system will heal itself. And all the damage that's been done and all of the drugs, the damage is going to be done by the drugs and the antibiotics are going to be healed a lot quicker, okay, if your white blood cells are working properly, okay? You can also do things like eat bone marrow, so you know where the place where white blood cells and red blood cells are born, okay? They have a proper place to be born. It's going to be working properly, okay? So when you do have an immune response, which you fucking will after you get cut open, okay, your skin's going to heal well. The scar will be cleared up nicely. Speaking of scars, a friend of mine, Daniel, he was, I'll have to put some, I just want to put this video straight up, so I won't be able to put the photos in this, but I'll put it on my social bit of this of YouTube. So my friend Daniel, he did Muay Thai, and the fight actually got called because he was bleeding so much. It was a bloodbath. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, but it was a bloodbath just pouring down his face. And so he had a gash on his head here, if you can see about there. He also had a really, what else did he have? A serious cut here, okay, and a very serious cut here. And it was honestly about like 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters deep, and it was going to be a scar for life, okay? Now, Daniel is a carnivore, he gets lots of sun, he exercises, and his scars, after a week, are basically gone. Yep. So when you eat properly like a human being, and you treat yourself well and you get lots of sun, you give everything your body needs to heal itself. This is interesting when you look at, I won't even bring it up. I'm sick of talking about fucking vegans. All right, so that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Those little other things that are really, tied in there too. But hope you enjoyed this. Get some blue blockers by Rye Optics. They rock. And tonight it's enough for life. Cool.